All right, that's right. We are live and welcome to the 18th episode of ComicXWeeb. That's right. I'm your co-host here with you, James, aka Comics for Cheap, aka hashtag Send It to James. I got my great co-host with me here.
It's your boy Chris, aka Black Santa, aka Ben Simmons, shoot the damn ball, aka Super Cold Water. Yo. So something that's interesting, man. I was talking to the label, the shareholders. We working on getting that. We working on getting a label, bro. It's gonna be sick. Nice. I was talking to Lucas, and we're working on getting that set up and everything. He's looking out. But I was given permission to finally get some decent information.
Okay.
For last week. We had a show last week.
So that's right. Yeah,
I could not get the info. I could not get the okay to give the information this week.
Gosh.
So hopefully next week. Hopefully next week.
Hopefully. Well, welcome everybody. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. All that usual nonsense. That's right. This is our weekly live podcast, or mostly weekly live podcast, where we discuss everything pop culture, but mostly comic book or anime related. And speaking of that, I think we are actually going to kick off this week with some anime stuff, courtesy of Black Santa. And yes. Chris, go ahead and lead us. What are we talking about?
Okay, so it's also going to be interesting in like how the concepts is with anime and like America, because like it's so funny how things are so different. Where in anime, let's use Gundam for example. A lot of the Gundam series, their main protagonists are like 18 and under. A lot of times they're in their 16s. Hell, one of the main protagonists is like 11 years old or some shit. And that is a very gruesome one. It's like Gundam Victory, and like pretty much all the kids that you grow to love, they all die. It is a it's not a good one. If you like a character, he's probably gonna die. It's like some Game of Thrones stuff. Like these guys are just dropping. It's not very nice. But I just find it very interesting when you look at that. Like American is so much different when it comes to that kind of stuff, where you're not going to have many kids in these kind of predicaments or in these kind of roles because they're just not going to do that. But Japan, they're definitely going to do that. And then like the censorship from America is interesting too, because one of the Gundams is called the God Gundam, and then his enemy is like the Devil Gundam. But because it's America, they changed it to the Shining Gundam because they didn't want to use the God Gundam because of religion. And again, Japan, they're just like, no, we're just gonna do it.
Right.
And it's not gonna be that big of a deal. As well as when you look at things like again, I brought Naruto up before. Naruto in the series is like a 12-year-old kid going through all these big time missions, him and his team, all the Konoha 11 are like 12, 13, and they're going through these high stake missions where they're literally killing grown people, and just like, so it's a normal day, the life of a shinobi, where they like Japan is more straight up with showing kid wars, where America just won't do that.
Right.
Where it's like, in a way, they're trying to shield, it seems, which I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, but I do find that to be interesting, where they're just like not, in a way,
interesting.
Go that far.
Right, because I don't know. It is interesting just because like kids killing each other on TV, that would definitely cause an uproar. Just thinking like, even whether it's animated, not animated. I mean, people get their panties in a twist over violence in video games. So imagine like a whole show centered around children, killing each other and stuff like that. Even the Hunger Games brought up a whole lot of debate. And that was based off of a Japanese movie that did it first. Well, I can't remember what that one was called. But it was basically the same type of thing where there were a bunch of kids given weapons and on an island, and basically told the last one living is the winner. And that was a really gruesome movie. And so, I guess the cultural differences. Japan's just like, Is there a reason that they say that they are allowed to do it over there? Or do they have they just don't care as much about it, or what's going on there?
It's a thing where I don't want to sound like it's heartless, like, oh, they just don't care at all, but they definitely are a lot more, I guess, relaxed on those kind of things, where they're willing to show that and say, hey, this is what would be the outcome, or this is what would actually happen if this war was to take place in this period of time. Because in Gundam, it's not like all the kids are just the only ones fighting. The adults are fighting too, but it's just like the kids are forced in a situation to fight. Like in Naruto, there's a very interesting one where the Hidden Mist Village in the past, they had it where their top students would go to classes normal, do their stuff, and then when it got to their quote unquote their version of the Chunin exams, which is like a tournament to really get you higher ranked and everything, but it's not really killing involved. If somebody did die, it's not the end of the world, but they try to prevent it. In the Mist Village, it's like, no, all of you guys are going to fight now, and whoever's the last one standing, you get promoted. And what I mean by standing, I mean everybody else who's the last one breathing. Like they all have to die. And if you choose not to do it, then we will kill you on the spot.
Damn.
Like they was hardcore as hell. Now, of course, when Mai took over and she became the Kage of her village, she got rid of that rule and tucked that away and was like, yeah, we're not going to do that. Funny thing about Mai, though, she's looked at as like hands down the worst Kage, and she comes in kind of badass, where like Sasuke's attacking everybody, breaks into the summit, and he's going. And he's mainly after Danzo, but they're in his way. They're not going. So he goes in there and he goes to fight, and then Mai just like jumps in and she's just like, all right, I'm gonna take care of this. And she like spits lava out of her mouth. And what's cool about it is that all of her jutsu, basically her technique, her ninja magic, all of that stuff is like, it doesn't affect her. Like her abilities, like she has another ability where she can shoot out, well, being a member of the mist, not shocking, she can shoot out a mist that is basically acid, where it's gonna corrode and is gonna melt anything that it touch. But it doesn't affect her, but it's not friendly fire. So if she was to do this in a crowd, whether she wants to or not, she would melt anybody around her, whether it's friend or foe. So she only uses it in a situation where she knows she's by herself and she can use it against her opponent.
Gotcha.
Having all this cool stuff, when like Madara, don't get me wrong, Madara, when he showed up, he fondles all of the Kages. But Mai looked hands down the worst. She was like basically the first one to drop. She didn't do absolutely anything. And she has such a terrible, like the fan base looks at her so badly. But anyway, the point is, what do you think about that, though? Do you think that a rule like that should ever exist, where it's like the survival of the strongest? Or do you think that's too far?
I like that kind of thing. I liked it when Heath Ledger as Joker did it in Batman Begins. It's kind of like the first thing that popped in my head when you said something like that. He's like, we're going to have tryouts, snaps a pool cue and puts it in the middle of them. And it's basically like, even if you don't want to fight, you're going to have to fight. Like, this guy was just your brother yesterday, but today it's either him or you. I always think that kind of thing is, it adds a little spice and flavor to a story. So I'm down with that. Or like Hunger Games, like we were saying, the last one breathing is the winner. That kind of thing is, even if it's a little brutal, it's still like, it kind of adds that element to the story. I think that's pretty cool.
So if you was let's say you was in the village and you had a vote, would you vote to keep that rule or would you vote to get rid of it?
Gotta vote to keep the rule, man. Darwinism rules.
Keep this in mind. Even though you said you would keep it, keep this in mind now. This also means your children, you have a kid, and they go on to have that same, if they go on to be a ninja as well in your village, you're going to have to participate in that.
Sounds like a win-win situation, man. I might not have to buy my kid no food no more. All right, that's what I'll talk about. You know what I mean? No, I'm just kidding. No, it would definitely change your perspective, I guess, if you had your own children participating in it. But you just hope that that they trained hard enough to win it all.
Okay, that's why am I not shocked that you would just be like, yep, I'm game. Just keep the rule. We do not need to change anything.
This
is what led our village to where we are today. We keep this damn rule.
That's right.
Survival of the fittest.
How dare you question the traditions of this village by even calling a vote to begin with?
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. I do got some scenarios. I do got some scenarios I want to go through, but I really want to know the list, because you said you got a list.
I got a list of things to talk about.
I want to know what's on this list.
All right. So the first thing I had on this list, okay, this has been a topic that has taken the internet by storm. Everyone and their mother wanted to weigh in on this topic for the day. And this is how we know that society is starting to get back to normal a little bit, because we are having these ridiculous debates instead of, something serious like life and death or coronavirus. Batman in the news because DC says that heroes don't go down.
Oh, I did hear about that. I read that.
Oh my gosh, dude. First of all, Batman's got handles on his cowl already for a lady to grab and push the face down into the vajayjay. So right off the bat, we know that Batman's already equipped with handles for giving head. Second of all, not only do I believe that Batman, if he fucked Barbara Gordon in the Killing Joke DC animated movie, would give head, I believe that he's an expert on it, that just like everything else that he decides to take under his, whatever he does, he's an expert. I'm sure he's read like 15 books about it and, watched every porn video that he possibly could to make sure that he's got that technique down. Practiced on I'm not going to go that far. I was going to say practiced on a Robin, but, that's probably...
Come on now. He's already practicing on Robin's girl.
Yeah. Tyler says, I don't see the problem. The tight leather costumes really seal in that flavor. So, he's getting like an extra dosage when he's going down on Catwoman. But yeah, no, I just thought that this was so funny that, first of all, because I think what happened was they were trying to write it into Harley Quinn season 3.
Yes.
Which I have been a big fan of that show. Like, I really enjoyed. I thought it was funny. It's amusing. Right. As someone who's not as much a Harley fan, like, for me to enjoy that show, it's quite amusing. So of course the creators or writers or whatever are trying to write a scene where Batman goes down on someone, and DC's like, absolutely not. There is absolutely no way that we are letting this happen. We are selling toys to children and blah, 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 blah. This is not happening. And so just the fact that took the internet by storm, it makes my day. It's just so funny.
I think I read the guy was like, so you're telling me that superheroes are selfish lovers? And
that's exactly what he said.
That had me laughing when I read that. I was like, wow. I mean, that's funny. It does make you, like, when you see something like that, it's like, what the fuck? Like, why would you say, oh no, heroes, they don't go down? Like, so I guess everybody that does, I guess I'm evil as shit. Yeah. I mean, I guess we're all evil for exactly. like going down on our girl, or, if you got a man, whatever the case may be. I guess that makes you evil for doing that. I guess you're a supervillain. I guess I'm a supervillain though, because I'm gonna go down on my girl or any girl I'm dating or fucking or whatever. Whatever right. Is, do what you gotta do. Unless something down there smell a little too fishy, then we ain't all that. But if it's all good, it's all good. And I mean, come on now, like you said, we both know Barbara Gordon was swallowing more than water that day. So, like, come on, like, stop that noise. And you're telling me it's okay. We look at All-Star Batman. I don't want to hear crap about morals. So it's okay, and this ain't even a moral thing, but it's okay for him and Black Canary in that universe to kill a bunch of villains, burn them on fire, and then start having sex on some of their dead bodies. That's okay. But oh dear God, Batman goes down there and lick a little coochie. He the enemy of the state. He is truly evil. Superman gotta come in there and stop that man now.
You gotta put an end to that shenanigans. I mean, he may have done all those things, and he may have fucked Black Canary next to a pile of dead bodies, but he didn't eat her out though, Chris. He did not. He did not. I feel like DC is standing there like Bill Clinton trying to talk in his Monica Lewinsky speech. Is like, I did not draw Batman giving head to Black Canary. Oh Lord. And Tyler says adults buy comics, not kids. The majority readership of comics is 20 plus. That's true. There definitely has been a age switch or age shift, I guess, of people who read comics, and it's just I don't know if it's the creators aren't reaching kids as well as they used to, or if I don't know, or like the kids who grew up reading comics just want to now write for their own age group. That is actually an interesting topic of discussion all in itself of why more adults read comics than kids read comics. Because I mean, when I was a kid, it was mainly kids reading comics. It wasn't really. I mean, obviously the collectors were all adults, but you know, it was really kind of us reading it. Yeah. And now it's true. It has been a switch where it's really now it's just kind of us reading it, and there's really not so many comics directed towards kids to begin with.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, I do think that's just funny though that this dude was told that by one of the DC higher ups. Like, nah, superheroes don't do that. Like,
yeah,
what?
What?
It's just.
It became, I saw some of the funniest pictures, like there because Snyder tweeted a picture of Batman going down on Catwoman, and he just wrote canon, like, and so then people started like adding to it. Like there's one I found with Penguin behind Batman while Batman's eating out Catwoman, and so of course I was like, yeah, Penguin's sticking that umbrella someplace where the sun don't shine.
He might have been. He might have been.
That's how you finally finish off the Batman. You got to get that umbrella up in there.
Hello. Yeah, I guess so.
I think comics just aren't as accessible as it used to be. More often than not, you're driving 20 minutes plus to find comics. That is true. That's a very good point. Because I mean, especially like back then when comics really got booming with Spider-Man and the X-Men, and then that rise happened. It was so interesting. I think one of the biggest issues with comics, why it's not as popular now, especially, is because, let's be honest, most of the stuff that happens is things that we already seen before. Mm-hmm. It basically repeats itself in one shape or form. It can be coded and put a little bit of paint on it to make it seem like it's something new, but it's kind of not. It kind of retreads the same thing. Like somebody can come in and play the new Venom, for instance. Like maybe we'll talk about Venom because they finally, I kind of see the direction they're going in. All right, so somebody could play a new Venom, but at the end of the day, we kind of know eventually it's going to go right back to Eddie Brock. So Eddie, right. Yeah, plus like Tyler was saying, I mean, comics used to be sold in gas stations and drugstores and newsstands on the streets, and I mean, it wasn't just you had to go to a store that sells comics, which in some of the smaller cities there may only be one store that sells comic books that you have to go to, and you may end up driving quite a while to get there. And so at that point, it's like, that's not really worth it, but it's also not worth it to ship, the books to me once a week. And then you're paying all this extra. Comics are now $4 a pop, or to $6 to $8 sometimes. I've seen $10 for a comic, as opposed to like when they were in the 90s, it was $1.25 a comic. Right. And even before that, it was like a quarter. Like when my dad was growing up reading comics, it was a quarter to buy comics. So it's definitely a change there as well. I mean, you're not seeing a lot of, 8-year-olds to 12-year-olds with, $20 that they can spend on comics every week. I mean, instead of like $4 or $5 that they can spend on comics every week. It's definitely a big change there. But yeah, moral of the story: Batman don't eat pussy.
Bull crap.
All the eras of comics are around 20 years. The modern era is going on 40 years, and it shows. Oh, there you go. Okay. All right. Well, there you go. That's topic number 1 off the list. Number 2 off the list. With a list. I want to talk about movie theaters starting to come back a little bit into the swing of things with A Quiet Place 2 hitting $100 million, which is the first movie to do that since the pandemic started. And movie theaters
which movie did?
Shut down. No, so just movie theaters in general. A Quiet Place 2, that movie, that John Krasinski movie, the horror one, hit $100 million in the box office and was the first one to do that since since the pandemic, which is awesome. And hopefully that leads to movie theaters opening back up and movies starting to be released without studios, I guess, being so hesitant to release everything right now. Everything just keeps getting pushed back, or straight to digital, HBO, whatever it is. And of course, they're hanging on to those big blockbuster movies that they want to see the money from. So how do you think we're going to start getting those trickled in now, or are we still some time away, or what do you think?
I think we will. I think people are just going to go back, and a lot of things are starting to normal out a lot now. Just like when we was talking a little bit about the NBA off stream, they got their fans back. I mean, they're almost completely fans back, completely in the stadiums now. So it's like we're good. WWE, they did basically their last pay-per-view in the Thunderdome, and now they're going to be going back to really live audience, their main thing now, and going back on tour. So people are basically getting back to the norm now. A lot of stores are changing the mask rule too. Like our store, you don't actually have to. You're not forced to now. If you're an employee who's been vaccinated, you don't even have to wear it anymore. So stuff is starting to get back to the norm. It's just, I still feel people need to be careful because you never know what can happen. But I'm A-okay with everybody, things opening back up and us living our lives again. But
so I was going to say, I also noticed when watching some of the hockey playoffs and stuff that they went for, it was like as soon as the playoffs started, they went to letting a lot more fans back in to let basically, and then like all of a sudden sold out, like all 12,000 seats sold and people in them. And so I was like, oh, that's interesting because, there were rules by state for a while. And then it switched to like a Canada match or game or whatever. And the stadium was empty. And I was like, okay, so it's really the United States is opening back up. It looked like Canada wasn't really so quick to open the doors back up. But, they filled all 12,000 seats. So obviously people aren't having as much of a problem. And, obviously you've been to games where, you're pretty much sitting on top of people in those games. So, so people are, it looks like getting back to normal. So that's hopefully a good sign for things to come for movies because, gosh, I miss movies. I miss movies so much, man.
I know.
I really do.
I understand. And that's the thing too. And remember, Canada has been one of the most very careful with this entire situation.
Yes.
That's why the Raptors had an issue last year where they was just like, look, you can't be coming back and forth here in Toronto. Sorry, it's just not happening. So if you want to try this, everybody got to go through a 15-day quarantine. They're like, we can't do that because, we got a game schedule. Oh, well, that's too bad because you're not coming in then. All right, see ya.
Right.
They've been super careful with that. So for them to open things back up kind of shows even they're just like, okay, things are in a much better place. They haven't been money hungry or something like that. They've been very careful. At least from everything I've seen and read, they've been extremely careful. So that's good. I do want to say the new Conjuring movie sucks.
It did suck. I watched it. It was not as good as some of the other ones that, especially some of the other recent ones.
And maybe part of it is when it come to me, I love horror movies to the point where I watched maybe too much of them at times. That it's not easy to scare me, but at the same time, I was like, nah, this is garbage.
It was pretty. It was pretty garbage.
What is this crap?
And Alexis and I love that series. I liked The Nun.
Right.
I thought The Nun was pretty decent, and then the one where the kids are house sitting, and like she starts going in and touching all this artifacts. That one was super dope. I thought that one was probably the best one of the whole Conjuring universe, I guess is what they're calling it. But out of all the ones that had happened, and I think that was like one of the most recent ones too. So going from that one to The Devil Made Me Do It, I was just like, wow, that was kind of disappointing. Like that really, like, nothing happened. It wasn't scary. Like it was just kind of, meh.
Because the trailer for it was okay, where it shows the kid walking in the streets and he's bloody and everything. It's like, dude, I think I killed somebody. Like that stuff was kind of cool. And I was like, okay, maybe they can mix this up a lot more. But no, it pretty much became isolated like usual, and then it was just really bad.
Yeah, it just became a possession movie, and I was just like, eh. And then they tried to like spice it up with the voodoo dolls, and I was just like,
this ending was so crappy for like everybody involved outside of the main protagonist. Somewhat spoiler, I'm not going to say what exactly happened, but the ending was so bad.
it was no bueno. Someone says, Eddie Brock says, hey, Comics for Cheap. I just started pressing. I have the same heat presses as you. How do you press both sides? Look, if you have any questions as far as pressing and everything, hit me up on Instagram at Comics for Cheap. I will be more than happy to go over stuff with you there. And I will have more cleaning and pressing videos in the future. So just kind of keep following along on YouTube and hit me up on Instagram with any questions. I'll be happy to go over it with you. All right. So yeah, but The Conjuring, Devil Made Me Do It was a thumbs down for me. Yeah, for sure. But hopefully, I haven't even seen the first Quiet Place, so I need to watch that one, and then I need to watch the second one apparently because I guess they're good. I mean, $100 million in the box office for the first one to break that since pandemic. That's not bad. All right, next thing on my list for you, Chris.
The list.
Did you watch the list? Did you watch any of the YouTube versus TikTok fight that
no,
apparently
I didn't know any. Wait, no, I don't know what that is.
So kind of piggybacking off of all the noise that Jake and Logan Paul have made recently fighting, they created a pay-per-view card of YouTube creators versus TikTok creators, and that was kind of like the gimmick of the show of everyone making money based off of wanting to see someone you hate get knocked out by someone you like. So I don't, whatever it is.
Is the girl, I gotta know, is the girl who get them idiots to buy her bathwater, is she part of one of the fighters?
I don't think
because if she is, I want to see that.
I don't think so. However, I tried selling bathwater the other day. I couldn't sell a single jar, Chris. I don't know what was going on. I was like, damn, it's fresh. It's fresh bathwater.
Well, I think the difference is, you don't have boobs and a vagina. So
this is true. I don't have those things. Yeah, the whole thing with the bathwater, man, that shit was fucking.
It's stupid. It's stupid. So I'm sorry. Anybody who bought that, you're a clown. You're like, I'm never gonna tell anybody what to spend their damn money on. But Jesus Christ, you're buying a girl's bathwater. Like, you are desperate. You are thirstier than thirsty. You probably drunk some of it. I know you sniffed it. Like, you're a 1/6 son of a. Go on, because I'm about going to a rant. Go on, bro. What's going on?
We could tangent off of that because, like, in Japan they got vending machines of used panties and stuff. So I don't know. It gets a little weird.
Look, man. Look. How about you know what? Like you said, what's going on? Because part of me was going to defend that part, so I don't know.
Yeah, you're like, how can you on one hand defend used panties? That's disgusting, and then on the other hand, you're like, you know what? But buying bathwater, that's where I draw the line. At least bathwater is supposed to have a little soap in it, right? Like, I don't know. But yeah, so the next thing that was on the list, this is a little post that went viral. A dad took a picture of his son in his Burger King getup and posted about how proud he was for being 14 and going off and spending every day that he could working because he's saving to buy a car, blah, 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 blah. Someone screenshotted that. Yeah, his son.
Who's 14?
Who's 14, yep. Took a picture of him in his uniform. Depends what state you're in, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, as long as like part-time during the summer, as long as it's not school hour. There's like a whole list of things that you got to go through. But yeah, so it basically someone screenshotted that, reposted it, said this is really depressing, and then that went viral, and everyone had their own opinions about it, saying, you know, oh, this is really unhealthy. You shouldn't be glorifying someone who wants to devote their life to capitalism, blah blah blah. Like, yeah, so it was that, and then other people were just like, can't the kid have a job to save up for a car? Like, he's got, you know, he's got a paycheck, you know, coming in, and he, you know, there's something that he wants, and this is what he's choosing to do. So I thought that was interesting because I know you have a great come up story. I have a pretty decent come up story as far as working from a young age, and I'm just interested to hear your opinion on this story.
Yeah, you and I both understand that. Yeah, and I definitely understand that. So I don't see a problem whatsoever with the kid working, right, making money, and then going out there to buy what he wants. Because you know, a little bit on me, growing up in a situation where I didn't have anything, I had to work for everything I got. And hell, exactly. I'm very proud of everything I have now, all the game systems, all the computers and this and that. Like, I'm really proud. Like, I was able to go out there, just spend $200 easy on a capture card, and it didn't affect me whatsoever. But that's because I worked for all that. Like, I worked my ass for that. And it's not like boasting about having money. It's not like that. It's just I'm very proud of where I came from growing up in a shelter, having nothing, to being able to work for everything and seeing it actually mean something. That's good. And if that kid ends up getting that kind of feeling and that kind of stuff, it's going to boost his confidence. It's going to have him be a really good member of society instead of him sitting out there doing nothing. What you want him to go out there and get that money in a bad way? Go out there.
So a lot of people were bashing him, saying like, "Oh, he should take this time to be a kid. He's missing out on like you know, life experiences or whatever, or just being a kid having fun with his friends." And it's like, okay, I get that on one hand. Like, you know, the kid shouldn't be overdoing it, working overtime at Burger King. Like, he's 14, you know what I mean? Like, so, but on the other hand, it's like, do you really think that's what's going down? Yeah, I'm pretty sure the kid's only getting like 20 hours a week. Like, most adults are probably only getting 20 hours a week at Burger King. I've seen and I've made schedules for retail where it's like, you're lucky if you get 15 to 20 hours a week.
Extremely lucky.
If you're not full time, right? So, so like, my opinion on it is big props to him. Like, I started working when I was 14 years old to get stuff that I wanted to save up for, you know, whatever it was. And so you're going to learn how to manage your money. You're going to learn how, you know, stuff comes in and out, what taxes are, all that kind of stuff from a young age. It's pretty important life lessons, I think. Just from having a basic job, you're going to learn what it feels like to get yelled at for no reason by some random ass Karen that comes into Burger King. So, you know, these are things that you can't just teach your kid.
He's going to learn what he's going to face when he gets older.
Exactly.
It's just simple. It's not going to change when you get older, unfortunately. I do want to make sure I do clarify one thing. When I say grow up, I mean like I grew every single day. I did spend 1 year in a shelter because of different crappy circumstances, but I just want to make sure I clarify that. But yeah, like, I think that's just like, the kid is only, like you said, at most 15 to 20 hours. He's going to have all the time he needs to still be a kid and still enjoy things. Plus, the world is much different than when it was when me and you was growing up. Like, when we was growing up, we was able to, like, let's call it what it is. We can like go, like, if like I'm in New York, I can like freaking go around New York, you know, walk around with friends, you know, go to Times Square, you know, have your parents around. Things are different now. You can't do anything like that at all. Kids definitely can't just walk around Times Square by themselves, get on their bike and roam around Manhattan and stuff like that. You can't do those things now. So the kid is still going to be able to be a kid, but it's not like he can just like do whatever he wants. Like, not you know, it's just different. So I think I don't see a big deal. It's not.
And like to kind of play on what you're saying, kids really don't do what we used to do.
All kids do now play Fortnite anyway.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of everything is, you know, like you're saying, video games and stuff. We didn't have as much of that growing up. For me, it was a lot of like, you know, riding bikes in the neighborhood, you're outside playing, whatever. When the lights start to come down, your mom hits a bell or something, and then you go back home. Luckily, I see a lot of that going on in the complex that I'm in. I see a lot when I go take the trash out. There's a lot of kids playing and everything like that, which like warms my heart to see, honestly, because I don't see as much of that as I used to. Like when I was a kid,
see it at all,
and like
really.
I would take a bike ride or whatever, and you would have like other people out in the yards or just whatever, just out having fun. And now it's like you drive through a neighborhood or whatever, and you don't see anything like that.
No, you don't see that. You don't see kids out there playing kickball and or throwing the football around the streets or whatever and looking out for cars and somebody's car. You don't see any of that crap anymore. Because honestly, the way things are now, it really is a thing of like, what are kids doing with their friends? They're at home playing video games. And they're not even, it's not even like when it was when you and me or you and I, where when we was growing up, you and your friend was next to each other. You was if you're playing co-op, you're right next to the guy, and you're on the couch or whatever. You're playing the game together, right next to each other, talking, playing the game, and having fun. That don't happen now. Now, one kid is in his house, another kid is in their house, or wherever the case may be. They're nowhere near each other now. So it's just things are changing and evolving in a much, much, much different way.
Plus, like parents are giving their kids a tablet or whatever at the age of 3 or 4. And it's like, here you go, stop annoying me. Here to play this game on this tablet or whatever. So it's definitely a lot different of a society. But I still say hats off to that kid for getting some work ethic. Everyone needs to calm down. It's not like he's working 60 hours a week or whatever, smoking cigarettes and developing a drinking problem because he's working a little bit at Burger King and saving to get a car. He's got plenty of time to do that in 15 years. Just like every other respectable American who developed a drinking problem working for retail.
James is totally not speaking on his own experience.
This is not any kind of reflective introspection at all.
As he takes a sip of his beer. It's strong tequila. Hard liquor. No.
Beer don't do it for me no more. It's just moonshine now.
This dude said he need the real hard stuff. He making prison alcohol now. He need the real strong stuff. It gotta be pure.
Yeah, when I sell bathtub water, it's a little different.
Hell yeah. Yes, but just to end it off on the kid thing, I agree. Props to him, man. He's learning things that he's gonna have to deal with getting older. And even when you go to college and whatever if you go to college, whatever you end up majoring or whatever, when you're dealing with people, you're gonna deal with you're not gonna always deal with nice people no matter what you're doing. As a doctor, a lawyer, a retail, whatever you're doing, you're gonna deal with some jerks. So for him to learn a little bit of that now, get a little bit of feeling, even working with some co-workers, he can get a little feel of how it's going to be working with these guys in the future, definitely working with adults. So he's going to learn a lot of lessons that he's going to know that most kids his age won't know. So you should look at it as the good things he's going to learn, not just the stupid stuff. Oh, he's not going to be a kid. He can still be a kid, but he's also going to learn some things that's going to help him in the future. So I think it's a good thing that he's doing that. Props to him, and I just hope everything work out. One last thing to remember. It's not like the damn father's having this kid, like you said, work 60 hours a day, and all the money's going to the father and the family and stuff. So it's okay, guys. It's all right.
Everyone just wants to get mad about something these days. It's just like we're all looking
for everything.
Like this kid at 14 years old is experiencing cancel culture just because he's got a fucking job at Burger King. Like, and then you want to yell at someone who don't have a job because they don't have a job. It's like, all right, make up your mind. Goddamn.
What do you want to do? Jesus.
All right, so 2 more things on the list. Number 1. Scarlett Johansson has been doing a lot of promotion for the Black Widow movie. Some of the early screen testing and everything going on have
Did she say Wolverine's going to be in it yet?
She has not mentioned Wolverine. What she did mention, however, is that she's proud and happy of the progression of the character of Black Widow, saying that she was not as much a fan as her being over-sexualized in the early beginning MCU introduction, like in Iron Man 2. as opposed to now where she's more of a badass fighter or whatever. And here's what I have to say about that. One, in the comics, in the comics, Black Widow is one of the most over-sexualized characters, period. So they were kind of saying
her gimmick.
And it's part of her training. Like, that's kind of her spy thing, to seduce people and kill them that way. So there's a little bit of a like, kind of know the history of the comic and the character that you're playing. But on the other hand, yes, it is cool that you're not just a sex doll in the movies and that you are getting your own spy thriller, James Bond type movie. And I am happy to hear that the early critics are saying that it is a good movie, because I know you and I still have our doubts about it. Yes. But you go ahead. What do you think about because she didn't. I also want to say just real quick, she didn't over harp it or anything like that, like in the way that Brie Larson kind of went off on her fucking tangent. Because I was like, when I first clicked on the article, I was like, oh no, she just did the same thing that Brie Larson did, and this is gonna tank now. So she didn't do that. Like, the headlines obviously wanted to grab you and clickbait you a little bit, but go ahead.
Okay, I was definitely going to bring up Brie Larson, so I'm happy you said that didn't go down that route, and it was much better. So, but yeah, I agree with your second part completely, though. Everything you said on that, like, it is good that it's not super sexualized. That's good and all, but it does come down to, you do have to understand the character that you're playing. It's like, even with Wanda. In that situation, where I remember the actress, Miss Olsen, I can't remember her first name. Elizabeth, yes, there we go. When she said that, she didn't want to wear the original costume for, right. I'm about to say Scarlet Witch.
Scarlett Johansson Witch.
Yeah, I was gonna mix up Scarlett Johansson and but she didn't want to wear the stuff that she didn't want to wear that stuff. Well, that's what the character is. You have to also understand what the character is when you pick a role, and you can't just be like, nope, I wouldn't do this, so I'm not gonna do this. It's not necessarily what you want to do to a degree. Like, obviously, you're not gonna, just be out there and just like, oh, well, you gotta do this and great. No, nothing like that. But there's gonna be certain costumes you have to wear, and certain, sexual, not necessarily sexual things, but certain things you have to do. From the character, and that's what Black Widow is. Like you said, that's part of her training, to seduce people and to be that way, and to get people to look at her as like, oh, she's a pretty redhead, and get their guard down, and then she can strike just like that off of your thirst. So at least she didn't harp on it for too long, and she just brought it up, and then she just left it alone, and it's okay, I guess.
I'm with it. I'm hoping. I've got a little bit of hope for the movie. I'm really hoping that it is a cool action movie. I don't know how much we're gonna get out of it as far as the future of the MCU. It's been pushed back so many times where it's just like, I feel like a lot of people at this point are just like, can we just have the damn movie at this point? You know what I mean? Like, can we just see it? Like, that's really. Obviously, you're not going to get your big box office numbers. Sorry, Marvel. You'll be okay. You'll survive. We just want to see the movie and see what happens, because as hype goes up, disappointment goes up. So if you overhype something and it's like, keep pushing it back and still trying to promote it to a point where it's like, oh, it's still going to be a great movie, guys. And then when it finally comes out, you're like, really? That's what we waited for? As opposed to if you just like released it and then everyone was like, hey, you know what? This was really good. And then it kind of built off of that instead. So, I don't know.
Yeah. Agree.
We still have another month before, I think it's at least a couple weeks before we're able to see this movie.
2 days before the movie dropped. I'm sorry to say, guys, we're going to have to delay it for one more year. Things happen. This is not planned, but I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry.
This movie's gonna come out when the Super Cold Water mixtape comes out. That's 2033.
That's right.
All right, and then the last thing on my list, Chris, I had to include this. The that the Senate, the United States Senate, not just the Senate, like Palpatine, has finally unanimously pushed through a bill declaring Juneteenth a federal holiday. Did you hear about that?
No.
So yeah, I mean, just recently, right before, because June 19th, I think is Juneteenth. And so they went ahead and made Juneteenth a federal holiday, national federal holiday. So Juneteenth, the when they announced that that slavery had been abolished, was is kind of the celebration going on there. And so now that apparently is a federal holiday for us, and yay! I think it still has to push to the House and then be signed by Biden, but they were kind of saying that should be no problem, being as it was unanimously voted from the Senate. It will probably be unanimously voted by the House as well, if it hasn't already. I haven't double checked on it. You haven't heard anything about this one?
Honestly, I have not. No one.
Right, well, breaking news from James.
Yeah. Breaking news for me, at least.
Sorry, I didn't mean to surprise you with something political or anything, but yeah, there you go. So that is now something for the United States, and I think it's a great thing. I was wondering why there were a bunch of fireworks going off last week, and I was like, what in the world? Or I guess a couple days ago. I just thought it was gunshots because we're in the hood, so I was just like, okay, whatever. But then it was more of the firework type thing, and I was like, oh, okay. And I thought we were just, people didn't have their dates right for the 4th of July.
Yeah, right. But yeah, no doubt, it's not bad, nothing wrong. It's cool, I guess, and I really don't have much to say on it right now because you said it's not completely official just yet.
I don't know. I don't think so. I have to double check. The last thing that I had read was that the Senate passed it. So the House would have still had to pass it, and then Biden had to sign. But I haven't double checked on it as of like right now. So yeah.
It's definitely interesting for sure.
Are we getting time and a half on June 19th now, or what's going on? That's my first question.
Bro, I'm bringing that up. That's very interesting. I will say that much. Once it is completely official, I'm definitely going to keep on it too now. Once it's completely official, I'll probably have more to say about it. But for now, I'm just going to say that's good. It's interesting for sure. I'm gonna do some research and see what's up, and it's good. It's cool.
Yeah, definitely. I just kind of came out of nowhere, and then there were stories about how certain states have like abolished even teaching about the holiday, because even like I had just recently found out about it maybe a couple of years ago, that because I saw someone saying Juneteenth, and I was like, what are you talking about? So being me, I went and Googled it and read a little bit about it, and figured, I was like, dang, there was no teaching of that when I was a kid. So but then come to find out that there are actually states that it's illegal to teach about it, and I was like, what? But now it's a federal holiday, so guess what? You're gonna have to fucking teach about it. So yeah.
No, it's just how America is in a lot of ways, though. It kind of somewhat comes back to what we were talking about earlier with the anime stuff, like. Mm-hmm. America handle things very different than other countries in general. Like, think about it. How again, when a certain if an anime character is a certain age and they don't if they're too young and they're doing something that could be too violent or somewhat too sexual. Americans would instantly up their age to 18 or 19, even though in the actual canon or the actual book or video game or whatever the Japanese put it out on, their age is 16 or 15 or something like that, or 17. Okay. They would still jump that age up to make it, America's age. That would be legal. So it's just, yeah.
That's kind of actually what we're talking about too. With the because you mentioned Game of Thrones too earlier tonight as well, and a lot of those characters in that book are like 11, 12, 13, and the show was like, no, we're gonna pump the ages of all of the kids to a lot older just because of the things going on. And then it just like didn't even make sense because one of the girls is like 17 and getting her first period or whatever, and it's like that doesn't make sense. But it was just like this whole there. Why would you keep that storyline in there at all if you're going to try to bump the ages of the kids?
Right.
Ian Lopez comes in and he says, "I'm actually 12 years old." It's true. I've met him. He is 12, and I've brought him across state lines before, and it was a little weird. We slept in the same hotel room. It was a little strange, you know. But...
we need to stop this real quick and have a conversation on the camera. This is yeah.
Oh goodness! All right, so that completes my list, and the list. Now we can talk about Loki.
Okay, let's talk about Loki then, man.
Let's talk about Loki. What are your off the cuff thoughts about the show so far?
All right, so this is definitely going to be spoilers in for the first 2 episodes for sure, guys. So, I gotta say it's definitely interesting. I've liked it. I've definitely liked it. I've enjoyed the first 2 episodes for sure. I thought they've been pretty good. It's been funny in a good way. And it's also just been very interesting and pretty good world building in another aspect too. Mm-hmm. So a lot of things is happening in just 2 episodes that I find to be like, wow, yeah, it's honestly what I expected it to be, and that's a good thing. Right. And so far, it's lived up to everything I wanted it to be and thought it would be. I found things interesting that, because I'm pretty sure I haven't watched your episodes on your reviews and everything. I'm sure I watched those, but I'm guessing y'all talked about a lot of Easter eggs, right?
We discussed a couple of them, yeah.
Like obviously,
I mean the ones that we could find, anyways.
Like at least when it comes down to like, one. Before I get to the main one, something that I thought that was funny. In one of the scenes, they had a girl that looked very similar to Betty. Captain America. Is her name Betty?
Peggy.
I'm sorry, Peggy. Yeah.
There was a big thing about that. Yeah, that they were bringing her in. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it looked very similar to her. And it makes you wonder, like.
Makes you wonder, Captain America going back and staying back in time. Justin and I did talk about that a little bit about, like, was that always part of the plan of the Timekeepers? Did that mess Peggy up, and that's why she was being brought in? That kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah, no, but there's a lot of people saying that the character is like she's only on the screen for like 2 seconds or whatever, like very, very briefly, but it does look like her. Yeah,
it does, and that would actually make a lot of sense.
Ian says he likes the show, love the buddy cop style. Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
I'm not a big fan usually. I was saying this to Justin too. I'm not usually a big fan of Owen Wilson. I think that he's a very over actor. When he's with Ben Stiller or Vince Vaughn, who are both also kind of over actors. That's like their comedy style. Yeah, that's their comedy style. So it's like I've never really enjoyed that that style as much. Like I liked it in Dodgeball, don't get me wrong, but when it comes to the museum night at the museum or whatever, kind of cheesy, corny, whatever. So for me, Owen Wilson being a little bit more laid back, but still having like that perfect comedic timing, I think that he's got in this show. Like it's just very well written, and he's laying it down pretty good as far as like his delivery of the lines and stuff.
Okay. Obviously, I'm pretty sure y'all definitely talked about the one of the biggest elephants in the room. That one of the judges is actually the girl of Kane. So
she is.
That one is a very interesting one.
I think
it's a huge responsibility. She's feeding him a lot of information, and she is.
Oh, I think she's in charge of the whole thing. I think she is the TVA. That's my personal thought. That there are no timekeepers. Either there used to be, or between her and Kang, they kind of overthrew or enslaving them for their powers, or whatever the case may be. But I think it all comes down to Renslayer or R Slayer.
Well, she would definitely have to
they
be
call her.
second in command, though. Kang would definitely be the leader.
Kang would be the leader, but she'd be the one making sure that the sacred timeline is going according to plan, so that he can do whatever the heck that he needs to be doing. But yeah, that's kind of been my thought, that there's going to be like a Wizard of Oz reveal, like who is the man behind the curtain type thing, and it's going to be surprise, it's Kang. So that's kind of what I've thought so far.
Okay, and then we look at female Loki, quote unquote. What do you think about that? Do you think that's actually female Loki?
So I wasn't aware that
you saw her name, the name, right?
Yeah. That whole thing going down. Yeah. So I actually, I guess, had somehow got lost on me that in January it was announced that there was a possibility of Enchantress coming through for the Loki show, and that was kind of going to be what was going down.
Because she has Enchantress' name.
I'm for it. Yeah, she's got
female Loki is the one who created her. Basically, to me, it kind of comes across like it was more of a gag that he made her. It was more of a joke for him more than anything else. But either way, he created her or whatnot. So what if it's a mixture of both? What if she is female Loki, but she's actually just a mixture of Enchantress and female Loki kind of mixed together? Something happened that kind of in their timeline just kind of merged them together in a way. That's what I'm thinking the situation is.
Yeah, that's a good thought. I like that. That would be really cool. I just, like I said, just recently it dawned on me, because I was like, Loki isn't able to just touch somebody and kind of mind control them. I was like, that's more of an Enchantress type thing going on there. So then I was like, then everyone was like, yeah, it's Enchantress, blah, blah. I was like, oh, okay, I'm late to the party on this one. Like, I had no idea. So that was really cool and exciting. That second episode was so fun. I'm really enjoying it. And the fact that they bombed the whole timeline, I thought that was really cool.
There was so many different dates. Some of them were big dates too. And some of them happened on different planets, different major planets too.
Vormir was one of them. Asgard was one of them.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. I'm so excited. Like, I feel like it's already been multiple episodes, even though it's only been 2. Like, I feel like it's been like 4 or 5 that have already happened, just because there was so much going on.
Right. And tell me it wasn't great when they showed what Loki did in the past when he was on the plane.
Oh yeah. The DB Cooper. Oh my god, man.
It was literally just a bet him and Thor made. Like,
I love that, because it was like there's been multiple times that they've talked about Thor and Loki making bets like that. So it just kind of plays into that mischief part of Loki, and it was just a nice little comedic sidebar too. Just like when they went to Pompeii. And that was a nice little comedic thing too. For when I saw the trailer, I gotta be honest with you, I thought that it was gonna be that Loki caused Pompeii to happen, and I was like, "Oh man, this is gonna be ridiculous." But then when they were just going to test out the theory there, I was like, "That's pretty funny." Like, he's just letting the goats out and stuff.
So yeah, man, it's definitely been really good. Oh, what's the name of that ball thing again? Miss
the what?
The little ball thing that's been talking, and Loki asked her, "What is she alive?" And she was like, "Well, kinda."
Oh, the clock, Miss Minutes.
Yeah, what's her name?
Miss Minutes.
Miss Minute. There we go. I think she's definitely playing a bigger role too. Like, I think she might.
Doesn't she seem a little like ominous? Yeah.
I think she's probably going to play one of the biggest roles. Like, I think she actually is feeding the information to like
to the judge, to Slayer, Renslayer.
No, I don't think she's feeding it to them.
Feeding it to all the employees that live at their desk, basically.
Maybe, but I'm actually going blank on their damn names. The ones who's basically who created that damn thing.
The timekeepers.
Yeah, there we go. I don't know why. Literally, I don't know what's going on. I'm not
okay.
right now. But anyway, yeah, I think she's actually feeding it to the timekeepers. Like, I think she's the one. I think they are there, and I think she's the one who's like basically speaking for them in a lot of ways.
Oh, okay.
Where, because it was also funny about it is when she's telling the story and the history of all these different things that happen, you can see in like some of the writing where it's just like, yeah, they're literally saying this is their interpretation of it. They're telling you what they want you to hear, because it's like this was produced by us. This ain't like some giant history thing of just pure facts. This is kind of facts in a way, but it's also them manipulating into the way they want it to be. So to tell the story they want to tell. And I think that she is telling the timekeeper story because they're telling her what to do, obviously. But I think she's also feeding information that's what's going on to them, so they know everything that's actually popping off without actually having to fully pay attention.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot because we definitely touched on how much propaganda is going on at the TVA as far as posters on the wall, the commercials, like her little running thing that went on, all that kind of stuff. And then we were talking about a little bit that obviously the winners of history are the ones who write history. So they could have written whatever history they wanted, that there was this huge multiversal war and there could be abrupt chaos if anyone goes past the line, when really what could just be happening is you're just threatening the existence of Kang in some certain multiverse, where like if you threaten that one, it could threaten something else, because we all know that he just sets himself up to win wherever he wants to win. And if you threaten one aspect of it, it could make the whole thing crumble. So honestly, I think that they're kind of feeding this propaganda that you can't go past this red line, or reality as you know it's going to fail, when in actual reality, that's not the case. Like, there would just be a branch parallel universe or whatever the case may be. And the chances of it actually affecting a main timeline are very slim to none. But the chances of it having an effect on, Kang or, whoever is actually in charge is a little bit higher. And that's why they try to eliminate that stuff out.
All right. Yes. Yeah. Now I want to ask you this. So
is the TVA in the quantum realm? So Justin said that there was like a what is the name of Kang's like little city? Do you remember? He says there was like a small cameo of it at the end of Ant-Man 2. Right. And then he said that it's a possibility that the TVA exists in that city and they just don't know it. Like, it's just a bubble under the magic or whatever it is, and they just don't realize what they're a part of, which is a possibility, I guess. I mean, we'll have to see. But yeah, I don't think the TVA is in the quantum realm. That wouldn't make sense. Even though they do say time moves a little bit differently, but I don't think it's the quantum realm. It's definitely going to be something strange, but I don't think quantum.
Doctor Strange confirmed for the final episode. I do want to ask you this though. Like, okay, so Kang is going to be in Ant-Man and Wasp, right?
Yes.
Okay. Considering, let's say they build him up, and let's say he ends up being pretty much not necessarily like the big bad of the series, but he's like one of the biggest things in the series, and like really one of the alpha omegas. Like, this is a big threat. Do you think it would be really bad if Ant-Man and Wasp beats him?
I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think it's going to go into Fantastic Four. I think the FF are going to have to beat them. That's what I personally think. So I think it's going to be similar to how they built the first phase of with the Avengers being the end of the first phase. So the end of this phase is going to be Fantastic Four, and Loki showed up multiple times throughout the first phase, and so did Thanos. Obviously, he did show up. He didn't fight or anything, but he did show up and be revealed to be kind of behind stuff. So I think it's going to be kind of like that, where.
So you don't think he's really going to be involved that much in the movie?
I think he'll be involved, but not taken out. I think that he will be He will be the villain, and then either he'll team up with another one for Fantastic Four, or bring Doctor Doom into it a little bit or something, or whatever the case may be. I don't think that Ant-Man's gonna beat,
because that's kind of the thing. If they end up beating him, that takes a lot of steam out of him. If he loses to them,
yeah,
like
no, I don't think so.
I like that's somewhat of an instant credibility drop. Where if you're trying to say he's going to be one of the big bads moving forward, you can't lose to them.
Mephisto confirmed for every episode. Oh, speaking of Mephisto, I just have to small sidebar. The writer / creator or whatever of the Loki show, they were asking him. They were like, "Is
the
there
horn
is there
situation?"
Be... What's that?
Are you talking about the horn situation on the picture?
Oh no! I was
okay.
Someone, there was like an interview where they were like, "Is there anything that's going to be jaw dropping or like really unexpected for episode 3, or are we going to get like a what the fuck moment type of thing?" And he's like, "Oh, you mean when Mephisto is going to show up?" At this point, dude, even the creators are in on the joke about Mephisto, and I love it. I absolutely love it,
dude. Because people was freaking out when they showed the post when the little girl was talking and they were talking about the horns and everything. People was like, "Oh my god, that's Mephisto!" So the creator had to come out and say, "No, that really is just Loki. It's Loki. It's Loki. It's not Mephisto whatsoever." He had to come out and say that because people was freaking, dude.
Yeah. Because of the whole WandaVision thing, dude. Because, like, honestly, you can't tell me that they didn't set up WandaVision pretty much in the exact direction of a Mephisto storyline. There is no way. And then for when it was over, for that show creator to be like, "I don't even know who Mephisto is." Like, motherfucker, what? like that shit just didn't make any sense. And then it just became like such a running joke because the fact, like, the speculation was so overhyped. Everything collectible is just like is up right now, so of course Mephisto appearances and everything like that just went skyrocketing, and just everyone was like, it's Mephisto, everything's Mephisto. And then and now before they even released episode 1, they were like, "Guys, I'm telling you right now, it's not Mephisto." And so everyone was just like, "Well, that could mean that it's Mephisto."
Dude, I'm not gonna front. What I would do now, I would change some things up. If they had planned on having Mephisto show up and sign, I would change a little bit of things up. If it's not like completely dependent on the story, I would change some things up. And in certain movies and series, I would completely just make a joke out of it. I would have somebody make a Mephisto joke and make it a running gag. And then just have his ass show up. But I would definitely make it like a running gag for a little while, where they just like do something that makes you think Mephisto's coming. It's like, nah, he's not showing up. Or just have like somebody like even pronounce his name wrong. Like,
that's what I was thinking too. Yeah, like say something that sounds like Mephisto, and then someone's like, "Wait, what did you say?"
yeah, and then
Mufasa.
Mufasa. I would do that, bro. I would do that shit, and then eventually I would have him like show up, and then he's like,
"Oh man!"
Like I would do it a funny way and a badass way at the same time. Where again, I would have somebody like say his name wrong, and then it's like, "No, it's Mephisto," and then he like puts his hand through somebody's chest, and then he's here, and it's like, "Oh, he's here now. Oh, he's here now." Like he has to make like a crazy entrance where he's like, just kill somebody or something to get his credibility back because I made a joke out of him for so damn long. So I would do that.
Put his hand through his chest, and then he's like, "You can take my fist, ho."
See, if you do that, then you're making a joke again. I'm trying to make it where he comes back in like a badass, not make it too much of a joke of him.
Oh Lord. But yeah, so it's not Mephisto. Let's just put it that way. It's just, like even if we had a chance of Mephisto, it's not Mephisto. At least until it's Mufasa. Yeah. So Mufasa is confirmed for Doctor Strange. I'm pretty excited about that.
I'm super excited about that. Yeah,
Lion King. Yeah.
Hopefully, Simba makes the entrance. Be cool. And the monkey that held him up when he was a baby.
That's right, Rafiki. Yeah, we got to get all that in there. Yeah, 100%. what do you think we can expect in the next episode or two of Loki, though? Because now we ended on all of the reset charges going through different time portals and everything like that, and then Loki just hopping through with female Loki / Enchantress. So where do you think the show is going from there?
Unfortunately, it's not going to have as many episodes to like deal with every single instance, obviously, because they named off a lot of stuff. Like when they just kept going through shows like that, that's a lot of stuff. I thought they was gonna like name off just enough for like basically the remaining episodes, but when they just kept going, I was like, oh, okay. We're not gonna obviously see every single situation, like having its own episode, obviously. But I do think he's going to be chasing her, obviously, and we're going to get to understand her point of view more. We're going to get some backstory and see why she's doing this stuff.
That's what I think too. Yep.
Yeah, I think we're definitely going to get that probably.
A little sit down between the two of them.
Right.
Yeah.
And hell, he might even agree with some things. I will say this though, just go back just a little bit. I did like how they had Loki like get deep, and he was sitting there talking about like this is pretty much a facade. Like I act this way, but I don't necessarily want to see people get hurt necessarily. Like I'm not here to like just mindlessly kill people. Like he was like, it was a facade, so he can just show a form like a mischief, basically. But he's not just all evil person. Like you can see you can see a little bit of the goodness in him, and I do like how they had that deep conversation. I did like that.
It does get a little philosophical at certain points in the show so far, and then when he said, "Yeah, everyone that's good is not truly good, and everything that's bad is not truly bad," I thought that was a little reference to like TVA a little bit, that you may think that you're good, but you're not truly good. They had a nice little conversation about free will. If the timekeepers have a sacred timeline, then do any of us have free will, or is everything just kind of the way that it's supposed to go? There's definitely.
In reality, and how that is set up, you don't have free will, right? Because like if you do something that they disagree with, your butt's brought up in there, and more than likely, you're going to be erased, and the timeline is going to be set back to the way it needs to be. And it's going to be another version of you taking care of going through the path that they set you on, basically. So in a way, it definitely in the Marvel universe, you don't necessarily have complete free will. That's not true.
It seems right.
The amount of free will that they allow you to have.
Right. Yeah, it was interesting. They also brought up the whole like if you think about where any of us come from, it's all chaos. And so I thought it was an interesting choice of word to use chaos coming off of the WandaVision show where we went into chaos magic and everything like that. So that was cool. But yeah, it's definitely had some thinking moments, and then some funny moments, like you were saying, that definitely they don't overplay the humor and the funny, which is good. Right. It's not just like a comedy show or anything like that. But yeah, no, I'm with you. I think that the Loki and whoever this female Loki / Enchantress character, they're going to sit down and kind of wherever their next hiding spot is, and just kind of we'll get her perspective a little bit. Maybe we'll even see Loki have like kind of come to that side too, realize that, or maybe a confirmation that the TVA is evil. Maybe we'll get a little glimpse of what really is behind or pulling the strings of this whole entity. I think that would be kind of cool in the next episode. We only have 6 episodes for this season, and they just turned in the final episode to Disney like this week. Like as far as like post editing everything, not as far as like shooting, but as far as like edited down and whatever. And that was just, I was like, dang, that's talk about meeting a deadline. Holy cow. Only 4 weeks out. You submitted the last episode. That's kind of crazy. But it gave them that much time if they wanted to make any edits or changes, just real quick based off of what's going on or what they decide to do. So that's kind of interesting. It could play into a little bit what direction they decide to go.
And in a way, it kind of makes sense, though, considering everything that happened, especially with the pandemic last year. That definitely slowed down and put a halt to a lot of stuff. So they probably had to like say, all right, we're not going to be filming these things now. We're going to have to wait. So that probably definitely changed things up and made it where it was like, all right, now let's try to get these to these people.
Right.
So we could have this situated and done, and then we can do what we're going to do next. So yeah, again, I really like it, and I just hope it continues on this path. I do wonder which places. We know at least from the trailer that the Asgard situation is going to be addressed. We know that one at least because it kind of looks like one. Maybe we'll get like a version of Loki who actually end up becoming the true ruler. Not
like the fake version.
Yeah, like we might end up getting that because we did see some little scenes that made it seem like he was on the throne or something. So we might get that. That would be interesting.
That would be cool. That would be cool.
It would be cool to get a version of that. And then I would like to see the interactions between the Loki who didn't become ruler to the one that did. How much arrogant is the one that became ruler? Or does he feel bad? Does he tell the other Loki? I think that would be very interesting if he feels actually bad of what he had to do. And he tells the other Loki, like he eventually, like at the end, tells him, like, this is not what we actually wanted. Actually gaining it is not what we wanted because of everything we lost. Like, that would be interesting. But he might just end up being a prick and just be like, I did it.
It could be the same Loki. Like, it could be that he went to a certain point in time through that little portal and it took TVA maybe a couple of weeks or whatever to catch up. Remember how in Ragnarok where he fell out of the stream and then Thor fell out of the stream a couple seconds later, but it was like 2 weeks apart. So it could be something like that where by the time the TVA catches up with Loki, like he's already somehow manipulated his way to the top of whatever it is, where it's like that he was elected or voted or whatever. But yeah, or it could just be that he's running into a variant of himself again.
And then here's the thing: if somehow, just somehow, he ends up like that, Loki end up getting like the Odin Force or something, then they're not going to be able to bring that. They wouldn't be able to bring him in. They would not have the ability to bring him in. He would be way too powerful to be brought in.
That would be cool too.
That would be cool if he somehow end up happening and he got the Odin Force and it's just like, yeah, they tried to come get me, but that didn't work out for them.
Yeah, no.
I bet they didn't tell you that part, right? And he's like, no, yeah, I know they did. Like that would be interesting, but
right.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what they actually do. It's gonna be cool.
I'm really excited.
Stuff. I'm just saying, that would have been cool, but I don't think they're doing anything like that. But I'm just saying, it would have been cool. I can't wait to see what they actually do.
It is cool. I also just wanted to bring up the point that it's one of the few that has already, we know that there's going to be a second season of Loki, like season 2. How do you think we're going to get a second season, though? You think it's going to be more of the same, or you think it's going to be something different playing into what's going on later? Because I mean, honestly, they could play off of this for a while.
Did they give a timeline to when it's going to happen?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess we'll have to one of those wait and see type situations. But I just thought it was interesting that it's one of the few that confirmed has a second season coming out.
I'm guessing it's either two things they can do. It can end with her not being captured and she gets away, and then the second season is the season that Loki actually gets her. I hope it doesn't end with male Loki dying, and then the second season is about female Loki. I hope that doesn't happen. Or it can end where Kane is going to be set up to be the main of the second one. Loki's going to have to stop him. It could end up like that too. It could be a cliffhanger where Renslayer just flat out like, yeah, I got all the information I needed. Here's my man. And then he just like walks through and he's just like, what's up, bitches? You know what I'm saying? Like,
the whole, I was just getting that vibe in the scene where Owen Wilson or Mobius and Renslayer were talking, and he was like, "Oh, you have an analyst on the side or whatever," like that whole thing that was going on. And she was just vibing as a villain during that whole scene. I was like, dang, like there's definitely more to her than what they're showing so far. And
you're not my only one. It's like
right. Yeah, and like the whole thing where he then said like, oh well, you know, nobody's ever seen the timekeepers. When do we get to see them? And she's like, oh, you know, I do what the timekeepers tell me to do, to tell you to do, the, you know, it blah blah blah. But I just kind of got the feeling, I was like, I think this bitch is the one that's really in charge of this stuff. I don't know, and or like, you know, she's the leader at that point and kind of taking her orders from someone else, like Kang. And there's also the point that like Ant-Man 3 comes out like a long time from now. Like it is not anywhere close. And the fact that we have Kang confirmed and casted with Jonathan Majors so early, it's like, that's a little suspicious. Like I'm pretty sure we're gonna get something, true. A cameo, something like,
because that could be a smart move where at the end of the first season, she like everything. Let's say this resolved. Loki beats female. And he takes her, female Loki / Enchantress, whatever. He beats her, and they deal with the situation. And then him and Mobius are having their conversation. They either end on good terms or whatever happens. And then, like, you have credits, or either, so an end credit scene would be Renslayer, like, all right, I need to go report this person into the Timekeepers. And she goes, and she walks in there, and, like, it's all black. And then eventually, you know, I love telling stories. She's just walking in there, and maybe you see about 3 dead bodies, and then you see somebody actually sitting at the chair, and then it's, you know who, Kane is actually sitting there. She's like, yeah, let me tell you what actually happened. He actually did this and blah, blah. I got information for you now. And maybe that could be something like that. So his first appearance would be at the end of the Loki series. That would be fucking cool as hell. Or you can even have it where Mobius follows her, and then he ends up getting killed by Kane. Kane's like, yeah, you've been followed, and then he kills him, because she can walk in, and then like the 3 bodies can still be there, and the keepers can be dead, and he's like, they're dead. Oh my god, they're dead. And she's like, yeah, well, you really shouldn't have found this out. He's like, you knew about this the whole time, and then he gets killed from behind. And, you know, Kane walks in there, he's like, yeah, because I'm in charge now, and he kills him, and Mobius can die like that. That could happen too. Like I would love either of those 2 options. Like that would be really cool.
That's hype. That's really, I like that.
That would be a great way to introduce him to me. It's all about credibility, man. And that would be a really cool way to introduce him.
Really sinister and like that evil feel, because if they are going to build him up to be, you know, where do you go from Thanos, and they're like Kang, it's like, okay, but you know, make sure that he's done right. I think that would be a really cool introduction for him for sure.
Yeah, and then again with credibility, then having him being in charge of like the whole timekeeper situation, that gives you a threat like, oh crap, he got some really powerful stuff behind him.
Yep, because we've seen
it's like, all
even
right,
Loki himself
but he got some other stuff that you're gonna be scared of.
Right, because even when Loki opened the drawer with the Infinity Stones, and he's like, is this the most powerful force in the universe? Like he sat there and thought that because the Infinity Stones were worthless. When they were like, oh yeah, some of them use them as paperweights or whatever. So he was just like, wow, is this the most powerful force in the universe? And it's like, and if Kang is the one wielding the most powerful force in the universe, like, yeah, so that's perfect. Like what you're saying, just that would be a great setup. That'd be awesome. But we will have to wait and see. And we are pretty much at that point, Chris, where we're going to bring this podcast episode to a close. It's been a lot of fun. Make sure everyone, you like and subscribe, everything like that. I know Chris is going to be working on some videos very soon, is what he's been telling me.
Yeah, he is right. I got the capture card sent in. So if not next week, the week after for sure, everything's going to be set up and we're going to get some nice gameplay videos. I'm so excited.
Beautiful. I'm excited too. And he may actually be launching a channel in the near future too, so we'll have to keep an eye out for that.
True.
And as far as what's going on with me, I'm going to the great old state of Georgia this upcoming weekend. I'm doing a show in Augusta. So that's that's on the docket for me. And guys, thank you guys. Every Monday we do this podcast, every Monday evening. So tune in. And
I do want to say this too real quick. I do want to say this real quick. So at least for next week, one thing that we're definitely going to go into. Like I said, I got some interesting anime scenarios I want to run through you with. A scenario is going to be something with My Hero that I want to see what decision you would make. We'll probably have one with Dragon Ball, and then I'll probably pick another series. But we're going to run through some scenarios. I just want to see what decision you would make if you was put in those characters' shoes.
Perfect. So that was something to look forward to for next week. Guys, thank you so much for watching. As always, stay villainous and